Okay. Are you sat comfortably? Good, good. Now, I'd like you to close your eyes. Relax. It's okay. Just feel the breath in your lungs for just a second. I want you to empty your inner mind's eye of sounds and images. Just a blank space. The canvas of the mind. Are you feeling clear? Present? Okay, good. Now I want you to imagine something for me. I want you to imagine a world much like ours. The same people, the same buildings, the same technology, the same cultures, religion. Everything is the same. Or so it seems. Now, I want you to imagine that world, but everything you believe to be true about it is wrong. Every reality is false. Everything on the surface is a facade and just an elaborate ruse to obfuscate the truth. The truth that every conspiracy theory you've ever heard is not only true, but is the fundamental reality that we all live in. From David Icke to Alex Jones, these men are not crazy, paranoid, attention-seeking entertainers. No. They are prophets, warning us of the ever-present danger. That our lives are being ruled by self-indulgent, interdimensional, lizard-demon entities, hell-bent on farming humankind for wealth, power, and pleasure. They rarely share this hidden world, knowing that if it is revealed, then their power may be challenged. But now and again, an unwitting, ambitious fool will seek them out, trying to buy their way into the inner circle. But the price of admission is not money or material items. It is the soul. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the world that Aamon Animation has created. A dark and twisted political fantasy set in an alternate timeline to our own, with a bit of Berserk, Resident Evil, and Metal Gear Solid thrown in. There's a lot of speculation about Aamon's work, many seeing it as just an absurdist take on the current political landscape. However, I think there's more to this than Aamon lets on, a deeper meaning and story to what seems to be a disjointed and random affair. So today, I'm going to try and build a narrative through line of Aamon's videos, analysing some of the key themes and ideas, and see if there's something of a message we can decipher through the madness. To start this off, we're going to have to go back 2 or so years to a series of top secret communications between now standing President Joe Biden and Metal Gear Solid 2's Raiden. On the surface, these interactions seem superfluous, and are generally quite humorous, with Biden bombarding Raiden with a variety of nonsense statements. However, there's actually a broader story being told here, and to tell it, we have to take a look at Raiden. And just why is Biden, of all people, talking to Raiden, of all people? Well, I think I might know why. My Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear knowledge in general is pretty bad, so please forgive me, but when looking into Raiden, I realised the relationship between him and Biden was more complex than it seems on the surface. But to understand this, we have to go back to the West African coast of 1989 and the First Liberian Civil War. If you're unaware of Liberia, I'll give a very quick history lesson. In 1822, an outpost was created on the west coast of Africa. The idea was to create a place for freed American slaves to go so they could reconnect with their African heritage. This sounded like a fantastic idea, until the newly arrived free slaves decided to enslave the native West Africans. Since then, there has been a terrible struggle for power within the small state of Liberia, with oppressed peoples like the Kran and Geo vying for a better nation. And that day came with President Doe, who was the first native Kran African to gain power in Liberia in 1980. However, Doe's reign was marred by increasing authoritarian measures and abuses against other marginalised groups, as well as rumours that he was backed by the CIA, rumours that were only exacerbated by the fact that Doe would routinely cozy up with the Reagan administration. This caused a schism in the country that came to a head in 1989 with the First Liberian Civil War, a war that was waged by a man named Charles Taylor. This war was exceptionally brutal, perhaps the most brutal in recent history. Mass killings, rapes, child soldiers, even cannibalism and voodoo magic were all present in this war. If you'd like to know more, Vice did an incredible documentary about Liberia that I'll link in the description, but be careful as it's not for the faint of heart. Now, Raiden was actually present for this war. He had been indoctrinated as a child soldier. The canon lore surrounding this leaves which side he was fighting for kind of ambiguous, but by digging a little deeper, we can try to fill in the blanks. Now, during the lead up to this war, President Doe's authoritarianism was becoming a problem for the US, and because of this, America began to withdraw support for his leadership. They also began to use their intelligence agencies to aid Charles Taylor. But with the CIA possibly being involved on both sides of the conflict, just who was Raiden working for? Well, one small bit of information that is given to us is that Raiden's recollection of events was that he was conscripted to fight against terrorists. This would suggest that he was in fact fighting on the side of President Doe. But this doesn't quite add up within the real-life history of events. You see, at this point in time, the CIA had withdrawn support for Doe and had begun backing Charles Taylor. The CIA actually helped Taylor escape a New York prison in 1985 and make his way back to Liberia. On his way, he stopped off in Libya and secured arms, men and training to begin his excursion in Liberia, all aided by the CIA. It's noted here that Solidus Snake, the man who ran the small boys unit that Raiden was a part of in Metal Gear lore, was CIA paramilitary. Considering that Taylor's army was characterised by child soldiers and the backing of the CIA, I think the stronger claim is that Raiden had in fact been brainwashed to think that he had been fighting terrorists, when in reality he had been conscripted to take part in a CIA organised coup for the control of Liberia. So, where does Biden fit into all this? Biden happens to be a lifelong politician, and Biden has had an extensive role in American politics that dates back to 1972, when he became the youngest man ever elected to the Senate from Delaware. Biden has a storied history with the CIA. In the 80s and 90s, Biden was part of the Intelligence Committee that voted on newly appointed CIA directors and deputies. He publicly endorsed several CIA directors, including those that were working to disrupt Liberia. He also ran anti-whistleblower campaigns, suppressing and even criminalising those that would come forward with government wrongdoing. Biden has been a cog in the political machine for an exceptionally long time, and his influence may have had a fairly indirect, or perhaps even explicitly direct, impact on Raiden's life as a child soldier. Of course, Biden's long-term career helped him secure the vice presidency in 2008, and later on, to become the President of the United States in 2020. However, Biden's presidency is somewhat called into question by Aamon's alternate timeline. Now, I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but a major controversy surrounding the 2020 election were claims from Trump's administration that the election had been stolen from him, or in other words, was fraudulent or rigged. Now, in our real-life timeline, no real evidence of this claim has ever been found, but Aamon's alternate timeline implies a more sinister turn of events. You see, there is a group in the Metal Gear lore called the Patriots, or otherwise known as Cypher. They are a shadow organisation that have complete control over the American government and even hand-pick presidents to act as their audience-facing puppets. Aamon's alternate timeline seems to point towards the idea that Biden was aided by the Patriots to secure his position as President of the United States by ousting the outsider Donald Trump. So how does all this relate back to Raiden? Well, these Patriots carefully selected Raiden from the battlefields of Liberia and experimented on him with mind control techniques. In Metal Gear Solid 2, where this incarnation of Raiden is taken, Raiden is unaware of the ordeal he has been put through, his mind control blocking his memories of the experiments. At this point, he genuinely believes he left Liberia to pursue a normal life, and is in fact just a new recruit to the Foxhound unit, trying to leave his dark past behind him. It's only as the game progresses that his history is revealed to him in full. So there is somewhat of a duality between the two that we'll explore, but with a key difference. And to untangle this, we have to look at the communications between Biden and Raiden and what's actually being said between the two. In the first video of these communications, Biden says, "We choose science over fiction, truth over facts." But when science is stranger than fiction, and truth is whatever the government-endorsed fact-checkers say that it is, this statement becomes a lot more sinister. And in part 2, Raiden outright asks Biden if he is working for the Patriots. Biden responds by calling him a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Raiden is clearly confused by Biden's schizo posting and ominously states that he's never actually met Biden in person. Perhaps a nod towards the idea that Biden is a puppet and kept away from important projects. Part 3 gives us the revelation that Biden is in fact an AI, which explains his inane chatter and ability to make sense, and perhaps why he has never actually met Raiden in person. The AIs in question were created by the Patriots as a means to have underlings that would enact their bidding without human error or conscience. And this information is the key difference between Raiden and Biden. You see, for the Patriots, Raiden represents a failed project. A project they put a lot of effort and resources into to create a killer without consciousness, manipulated into doing their bidding. However, due to Raiden being a human being, he eventually turns against them when the Patriots' plans are slowly revealed to him. Biden represents the new way for the Patriots, an AI subordinate that will do their bidding without human error, emotion, or consciousness, a mechanical puppet specially programmed for their agenda. But what are the Patriots' goals? What is this sinister agenda? Well, the shadow network of the Patriots has some pretty lofty ideals. They seek to control every sovereign nation and unify them into a one-world government. So far, they have the US government locked down, and they use censorship and control of the media to maintain the illusion of democracy and freedom. They believe in doing this, they can secure peace and a better world for all. Now, if this sounds familiar, that's because it should. People like Alex Jones have been sounding off about globalists and their plans to subvert sovereign nations for decades now. But we'll cover Alex Jones's role in this series another time, and in more depth, as he has an interesting part to play. Now, these ideas are not especially new, yet they are given a fresh, compelling edge when aligned side by side with real-world events. And I think Aamon has done a very good job here of making deeper insinuations while also making it quite humorous. I will also say it's actually quite terrifying how accurate the Metal Gear franchise is in outlining and predicting the kinds of corruption and abuses of power that we are seeing manifest today. And I can only assume that Aamon is actually aware of all this, hence why he tied the Metal Gear franchise to this project in the first place. Now, in Part 4, Biden proclaims himself to be one of the most powerful men in politics. He then demands that Raiden should kill Donald Trump. Raiden seems conflicted about this, saying that he won't do as he's told anymore. However, in a twist of circumstances, Raiden finds himself in a duel against the former president and seemingly kills him from atop a government building. Trump dies embarrassingly looking up at a commemorative statue of the late Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there are some, shall we say, implications here, but we'll explore those at another time. My first assumption with this scene was that the scene is a visual metaphor for Biden winning the election in our real-life timeline. However, within Aamon's alternate timeline, this series sets up Biden as a pillar of the corrupt establishment, dealing a crushing blow to any opposition. It also somewhat puts Trump not in a positive light exactly, but perhaps as an outsider, a problem to be dealt with. This sets the tone for the rest of Aamon's videos, as it shows a deep corruption within the government structure that is beyond political affiliation. There is no left or right, there is only us and them. And Raiden seems to represent us in this dichotomy, and if the implications of Aamon's work could be taken into context, the parallels are fairly clear. Just as he was brainwashed and conscripted by higher powers into situations he had little understanding of, so too are the public, who are often subject to intense propaganda campaigns from the media. But there's hope. If Raiden can shake off the shackles of institutional brain rot and rise up against his oppressors, then perhaps we can too. And this ends our first chapter in the series, where we'll be exploring the full universe of Aamon Animation and making some speculations on what his work is truly trying to say about our modern world. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. All links to Aamon and any music used will be in the description as always. I'll also leave a few links to videos and research to help me understand Raiden and give some extra context to Aamon's videos. I tried to have this video finished quickly, but I made a big decision and actually rewrote the script to make it more comprehensive and informative. I felt like if it was going to be delayed, it should at least be better overall, and as you can see from the links that I put in the description, a lot of research went into this. I didn't just do this lightly. I really went down a bit of a rabbit hole here. I'm not quite sure how many parts to this series that it'll have. I'm simply going to keep making videos until I don't have anything else to say, but my guess would be around 3 or 4 in total. I think next time we'll take a look at Alex Jones and the role of Resident Evil and the Umbrella Company and how that all fits together within the franchise. I've reached out to Aamon to see if he may come on for an interview, so keep an eye on the community tab, because if he does respond, I'll announce the interview there. However, I did notice that in one of his Twitch streams, he did mention that he wasn't really that keen on interviews, so I'm not so sure if I'll be able to secure him or not, but if he does see this video, and I will try to get this video to him, maybe that might spur him to want to come on, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway folks, that's enough for today. It's time to shut up, sit down, and get watching. Until next time, on FANimation.